Week 3 running back rankings, a top 40 list for all of you. For a position Hayden, I think, has only been hit with injuries at 2 spots so far. I might be misremembering, but that only impacts some names down the list and not the ones at the top. So let's kick things off with right now the running back 4 in fantasy football, but the running back 1 for you, that is Bijan Robinson at the Carolina Panthers.
The Panthers defense is really bad. They're allowing 5.7 yards per carry this year. They allowed the most fantasy running back points last year. And Bijan contributed to that last year, 173 and then 105 total yards with 4 combined scores in the 2 games against the Panthers last year. The Falcons right now are really, really low in neutral pass rate as well. And when they do pass the ball, it's often going to Bijan, who looks like the best running back in the NFL right now. Just like on tape, like that dude breaks a ridiculous amount of tackles.
His jump cuts are insane. We actually took the first 30 seconds of the show and copied it from the 2024 season and just copy and pasted it into this one with the Carolina Panthers defense. To me, it's so reminiscent of Todd Gurley's usage with early Sean McVay Rams teams. And I know it can be, matchup dependent on ADOT and where Michael Penix is throwing the football down the field. But it is notable to me that it's 10.6 last year in the 3 games versus 6.9 yards. And so much of that is factoring into getting Bijan Robinson more and more looks in the receiving department. And as you said, he had 2 touchdowns in each of the 2 games against the Panthers last season. That brings us to Christian McCaffrey against the Arizona Cardinals as your running back 2 this week.
Yeah, if you look at the expected half PPR points according to the model, which translates targets and carries, how close you are to the end zone, et cetera, he's by himself out there in usage, RB1 overall. He's got 17 targets, he's scoring touchdowns from the slot. Like, I mean, what else is there to say here? It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter about the matchup. Like, if he's just going to catch passes like this, it doesn't even matter. And the matchup this week is better than it was in the last couple outings. So this is just like, these 2 guys are ridiculous.
The Cardinals defense is quite interesting with Nick Rallis, and basically the entire point is to get Budda Baker into interesting spots, and then they kind of revolve pieces around him. So I'm very curious to see what Kyle Shanahan kind of concocts this week. As you said, heading into the season, there were a lot of nerves, and is Christian McCaffrey going to get a full workload? He definitely has. And on top of that, we're seeing new things from him too, in terms of even more like motion and wide receiver flat out usage from him in this game. And he is the constant of this team. That is for sure. Okay, Jonathan Taylor is your running back 3. This is at the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I mean, he's played 92% of the snaps in the first 3 quarters of both games there. One of the games was a complete blowout, so he didn't play all of them. So, like, you're getting as close to 100% of the snaps. He is extremely good at football, and the Colts offense is very competent everywhere. So this is an eruption spot against the Titans, who, like, have some talent up front, but for whatever reason, they're averaging 5.5 yards per carry to running backs this season. T'Vondre Sweat, one of their defensive tackles, he didn't play last week. We'll see if he's going to play this week. I forget if he's on IR or not. But it doesn't even matter. Like, he's getting out into open space a ton right now. He doesn't come off the field, and everything about this situation feels pretty sustainable. It's like a huge just win for Shane Steichen, and who's been a good coach for a while, but now he's got like honestly, the quarterback's making good plays. The skill guys are good. The new interior offensive linemen are holding ground here. So like everything about this situation feels extremely stable.
Yeah, there's 2 changes for the Colts this year. 1, they haven't punted the football. That's a big deal. And then 2, Jonathan Taylor's actually getting more receiving usage than he has in the past. In his first 2 games, it's 3 and 2 receptions. That might not sound like a lot, but over the last couple years, he's averaged fewer than 2 catches per game. And those 5 receptions so far have already equaled 77 yards, which again is notable from Rich Rebar and the worksheet. He's only had 143, 153, and 136 receiving yards over his past 3 seasons. So with one of those, he's already at half in 2 games. He should crush his receiving usage versus previous seasons.
Yeah, I think as a quarterback stat, like going from Anthony Richardson down to Daniel Jones, I think this all makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And the Colts also average only 5.3 yards to gain for a first down on 3rd downs this year. The shortest distance in the league. Crazy.
Good sign.
All right. Derrick Henry is your running back 4. A down week last week after a monstrous week 1. Will we find ourselves somewhere in the middle this week against the Lions?
I mean, what's really changed here? Like he has some really dud games. He has like RB1 overall. Like the last 2 seasons, it's been the same exact thing for Derrick Henry. So I'm looking at it this week. The Ravens are projected for the second most points in the week, about almost 29 points, which is a ton.
Ooh.
So they're hosting the Lions here, who have like been feisty at time against the run. But, like if you average out the last, 20 games for Derrick Henry, he sits right here and there's nothing that's really changed. So you have to live with a couple dud games every once in a while. But it's still the big dog.
James Cook is your running back 5. This is against the Miami Dolphins. He scored his 5th touchdown run of 40 or more yards over the past 2 seasons back in week 2. And also in this matchup between these two teams a year ago, James Cook had 95 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then 69 yards on top of that in the next one.
Yeah, this is just an eruption spot as well. So the Bills are projected for the most points at 31. We will not have very many team totals at above 30. We're at 31 here for Thursday Night Football. 12-point home favorites, a neutral game script, positive game script in his favor, the explosive runs, the goal line runs. Everything looks amazing. And the defensive line on paper looks like it's a strong point of the Dolphins, but they're like dead last in pass rush win rate. They have not shown up collectively. So like, I don't see how he doesn't go completely bonkers. So this is actually one of them where James Cook and then my next running back, Etienne, both on Thursday night. I'm taking hires on the total yards. I want receptions for Etienne. I want longest carry for James Cook. I want everything. Both of these guys actually play into each other where James Cook's going to get the ball late in the games. And Etienne, while they're down by 2 touchdowns, keeps getting these receptions that you talked about on stats versus film. And he's been absolutely eating against Buffalo for like obvious reasons. They're trailing a ton. So last year, Etienne had 8 and 7 receptions with 121 and 165 total yards. And I think the Bills defense looks kind of slow right now too. So I think these two guys together in tandem, like I'll see you guys in the pick'em lobby.
Yeah. Matt Milano is out for this game. Ed Oliver is also out for this game for the Bills defense, who, were run over in week 1, did much better in week 2 against the New York Jets. But this is a different type of rushing scheme. And it really wasn't effective last week when now the Dolphins were down their right guard and right tackle. But what we instantly got back to here with Achane was the receiving usage. And It was a bunch of angle routes. It was screen routes. It was escort stuff on the outside. And that's just what we love to see because he's easily one of the most explosive backs in the NFL. And Mike McDaniel just instantly went back to the well on what worked last year. Like you said, with 58-1 and 69-1 receiving plus touchdowns against the Bills last season.
Yep. I think anything in the reception department for Achane's on the table for underdog pick'em stuff.
I will say the Dolphins are 1-6 against the Bills under Mike McDaniel. And the Dolphins right now, only one play of 30 plus yards, which is tied for the fewest across the league. So maybe Achane is the key to doing more of that against this Bills defense. Anything you want to say about the wide receivers, tight ends, or quarterbacks in this matchup between the Bills and Dolphins on Thursday night before we post our rankings for wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends on Friday and Saturday of this week?
Josh Allen's the quarterback 1. The team's only projected 19 points this week for Miami. So like that's like the big caveat here is like I really like Etienne in the receiving profile. I actually like Tyreek Hill and to a lesser extent Jaylen Waddle too, just because I think this Bills defense has some spots where they look pretty slow. I think this, the safety group in particular, and without Matt Milano, the linebacker group, some of these big like kind of zone coverage windows underneath for Tyreek Hill and Etienne, I think are going to be actually opened up here. So even though they're not expected to score a lot of points, I do think there's going to be a lot of dropbacks, and I do think there's going to be some space for these speed demons to operate. So right now, Tyreek Hill is my wide receiver 18. I think I'm going to take some bullets in the pick'em lobby too on his receiving yards, which are at 65.5. Their slot corner, Tyrone Johnson's coming off injury, but he's also coming off injury. And then quickly for Jaylen Waddle, I got him like in the wide receiver 39-ish range. He's also on the injury report. He's just not getting as many targets as the top guys and off his peak. And I think just largely it's because Achane's been so good in the receiving game.
Yeah, the passing game last week for the Dolphins was a lot of corner routes, out routes. I'm interested to see if they're going to do that again after, Tua struggled so much over the middle of the field with, dropping linebackers and defensive ends and edge rushers and all that type of stuff. I'm sure producer Weaves posted Hayden's pick'em entry for Thursday Night Football during this spiel. So if he did and you looked at it, then you should be playing on Underdog right now. Use promo code THESHOW. That link is in the description down below. Play $5, get $50 if it's your first time using the app. Support Underdog, support us. they allow us to make this program.
I got one more note for that game. Keon Coleman's my wide receiver 30, so he's in the playable range. It's been tale of two halves. And the first game, they ran, 84 plays in comeback mode. We're not expecting that, but at the same exact time, we're expecting a ton of points here. So hopefully he's not in that same rotation, but we have to call our shots with Keon Coleman, who's a volatile player in a volatile role. Is this not the week where you want to be calling your shot on Keon Coleman? So I have a pretty aggressive ranking for him, but not even Storm Duck is playing in this one for the Dolphins. So I like Keon Coleman's spot here.
I'm sure people have been watching this show for the last 10 minutes and wondering where this man's name went. We did not forget it. Saquon Barkley is here as your running back 7. I want to push back on this one just a little bit after you talk. He is running back 3 in consensus rankings. I think I'm closer to them than I am to you here at running back 7.
Yeah, so the Eagles are 10th in projected points. It's going to be a close game. They're facing the Rams here, who've got a great defensive line. Now, Saquon Barkley did put up 232 total yards and 2 touchdowns against the Rams in the playoffs. So, I totally understand that. It's just a very slow-paced offense right now for the Eagles, and the team total is a lot lower this week than it typically is. And you have to kind of combat some of the Jalen Hurts tush-push scenario. So, the top 6-7 guys are so dang elite that I'm not going to nitpick it, and nobody has all these guys, so you're starting all of them.
Sure.
But I just think the receiving work for some of the other guys, and then the team total is really rock solid. So no bad notes against Saquon, really.
Yeah. So the bad notes so far for the Eagles offense, as I got off my chest during stats versus film, is that they have the fewest plays in the NFL right now of 15 or more yards, just 5. And again, just have 3 plays of 20 or more yards. That is also tied for the fewest across the league. Right now, Saquon is averaging just 1.57 yards before contact per rush. And that was compared to 2.64 yards before contact per rush. Now, as you first noted, against this Rams team in the playoffs, he had 30 touches, 232 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They also played in week 12. He again had 30 touches, 302 yards, and 2 scores. So I just wonder if this offensive line has the Rams front's number, and that Rams front has, given a lot of other teams issues. And based on these, small sample of 2 games, but that small sample was just totally dominant by Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I just can't wrap my head around why the Eagles would have the Rams defensive line number, when the Rams defensive line is just really good. And really, it's Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, very similar kind of profiles in general, and just the Ravens are projected for a lot more points than the Eagles are, and Jalen Hurts is more likely to score a rushing touchdown than Lamar. So I love all of them. Saquon could have 300 yards here.
I hear you. I will add, in those 2 games, the 4 rushing touchdowns were of 70, 72, 62, and 78 yards out. Yeah. So again, I have been frustrated with the Eagles to open the season just because they have explosive players and their offense has not been explosive at all. I think from both a rushing department and a passing department, they get back to it here, and it just becomes more fun to watch and more enjoyable to watch. This to me is the start of all of that happening for the rest of the season. And Saquon Barkley scoring a touchdown is going to be a big part of that too. Jahmyr Gibbs will close out first tier here as your running back 8 against the aforementioned Baltimore Ravens.
So this is just going back to the splits I've talked about before. There was 12 games from the beginning of last year till now where the Lions scored at least 30 points. In those, he averages almost 24 half PPR points. But when they're under that 30-point threshold, that's out 14.3, which is still right where I'm ranking them right here. RB1 numbers, nothing to sneeze at all. The Lions this week are back to projected for just under 23 points because they're facing the Ravens, who've got a decent defense, and they play really slow on offense, kind of drain the clock out. So it's not an easy matchup for Jahmyr Gibbs by any means, but he's still so damn good. He's been the RB14 on RB9 usage, and that includes that wild Packers game. So I talked about this, you have the haves and the have-nots in fantasy right now. You're 2-0 if you've got multiple of these backs, and then you're 0-2 if you're starting the guys in the RB20s and 30s right now. So all these guys look amazing. Really no negative notes.
Some of you know about my dog Zap. Adopted him 8 years ago from the mean streets of Charlotte. He is the oldest puppy ever. Okay, if that makes sense. He's still so youthful, and some of that energy now comes from Rough Greens. He has one of their chews every single day. They have beef flavored, chicken flavored, all that type of stuff. I don't just recommend Rough Greens. I depend on it to keep my dog happy and healthy. And I want to mention that they have other products too. Rough Greens isn't a dog food. It's actually a live nutritional supplement you add to your dog's food. You don't have to change your dog's food to improve your dog's health. Again, you just add a scoop of Rough Greens, and it's that easy to, again, help them feel a bit more energized. So don't change your dog's food. Just add Rough Greens to it. Rough Greens is offering a free Jumpstart trial bag. You just cover the shipping cost. Use discount code The Show to claim your free Jumpstart trial bag at roughgreens.com. That is RUFF greens.com, promo code The Show. So don't change your dog's food. Just add Rough Greens and watch the health benefits come alive. Next one is Josh Jacobs as your running back 9 at the Cleveland Browns. Your guy, our guy, Josh Jacobs has scored a touchdown in 10 straight games at this point.
So wild.
10 straight games. I will add, though, this arguably, and maybe not even arguably, his most difficult matchup by far, despite the Cleveland Browns being 0-2, they've allowed a league low 2.1 yards per carry to running backs to start the season. And that is to the Bengals and most importantly, the Ravens.
Right. Myles Garrett's the best defense player in the NFL. Like I love Micah and Surtain and stuff. Myles Garrett right now is unblockable. So yeah, this is a situation where I'm also keeping an eye out. Zach Tom, the right tackle, and then Aaron Banks, who they gave $100 million to this offseason, their guard. They didn't play this last week, which didn't really end up hurting Josh Jacobs all that much. But this week, when you're facing Myles Garrett and they got a top 5 pick at defensive tackle as well, I think you're going to really start noticing that. So I'm hoping that these guys are going to play. I think they were limited in practice on Wednesday. It's too early in the week to know. That is something that I think I will kind of tinker moving Jacobs up or down. The Packers are still 6 in projected points, and they're positive game scripts on his side. He scores 1 million touchdowns.
It's going to be an interesting one to watch because Josh Jacobs' yards per carry is already down, but again, he scores a touchdown all the time. And then, as we know, Jordan Love loves to hold the football and attack down the field. And so then you're going to get, Myles Garrett and Mason Graham and these guys rushing the passer. And can they get home in the 3.5 seconds that he holds it? So it's going to be a fun battle in that regard. Next is Bucky Irving as your running back 10. This is against the New York Jets.
He's been solid. He's RB14 in usage, lost a goal line opportunity to Rachaad White, who's mixing in just a little bit here. But the Bucs are now 3rd in projected points because the Jets aren't very good. They're 7-point home favorites. It does stink right now. Bucky's going to be without his left tackle and his right tackle in this one. Yep. So I think there are some kind of cluster injury kind of risk here, but the betting markets don't seem to think that's going to be the case here. So Bucs projected for a lot. Bucky Irving's really good at football.
Yeah, in week 2, he had 17 carries for 71 yards and also caught all 6 of his targets for 50 yards. And that was even on a 16% running back touch reduction. And so we get so focused on, did this guy get 80% or 70% or 60%? When he also sees less of the percentage of the teams in touches, you can also go up in production. That's just a note that we have talking about, spreadsheets versus, total production and raw production at times too. Onion hanger from you, Hayden. Javonte Williams is your running back 11. In consensus rankings, he's down at running back 17. Why are you feeling so confident this week?
I don't know what's fake about this. He looks good. The yards after the contact numbers are good. So the spreadsheets agree. He's the goal line guy. He's playing 75% of the snaps. The RB2 is not trusted. The RB3 keeps being healthy scratched, and they're expected to score top 10 points. The Cowboys are. Once again, I think the offense has looked really good. So it makes me nervous that their center is now out, and I already don't like their tackles right now. But man, he's the RB2 and RB7 usage, and last week he was the RB4 in usage, and he was ripping off an explosive play, which we haven't seen in a very long time. So it's one of these situations where if he's going to be out on the field for 75% of the plays, get all the goal line touches, and the Cowboys are going to be good, he's too big to fail. And on top of it, through 2 weeks, he's actually adding some stuff by himself, just talent-wise. So I would say this was kind of unpredictable before the season started, just because Javonte, it's been so many years before we've seen this. But I don't know, man. Everything about this seems fairly sustainable at this point.
Yeah, I just want to point out that from week 4 on last season, just talking about this Cowboys team, Rico Dowdle was the running back 20 in points per game. And, I think Rico Dowdle is a decent NFL talent and a good NFL talent. And in fact, I thought they should have kept Rico Dowdle instead of signing Javonte Williams. But, we could look back on that and that could probably be wrong. At the same time, this Cowboys offense can just be flat out better from start to finish this year.
Way better.
In terms of, more points, just more opportunities to score touchdowns. And if that's the case, that's how you go from running back 20 last year in Rico Dowdle to maybe finishing as the running back 15 overall this year in Javonte Williams. And this one's against the Chicago Bears, who have not been great defensively to open the year. So that's why you bump them up a little bit. Yes.
Yeah, they've been terrible on defense. I'm actually kind of surprised that the Cowboys aren't projected for more points. Like, this is the game total that is really high. It's at 50 right now. Only the Lions and the Ravens total of the game is higher than the Bears and the Cowboys. Neither of the defenses look good right now. So yeah, I'm just going with too big to fail for Javonte Williams.
All right. Before we go any further, just want to thank all of you for all the support you've given us as of late by leaving a thumbs up, by hitting that subscribe button, by telling friends, and most importantly, supporting Underdog using promo code The Show. Again, we will have a trade show tomorrow with Faraz on Thursday, and then Friday wide receiver rankings, and then Saturday quarterback and tight end rankings. And then obviously we are back with your start sit questions at 11 a.m. on Sunday morning. So again, appreciate it. And we're just helping you win your fantasy matchups 1 week at a time. Speaking of, the running back 12 this week is Jordan Mason against the Cincinnati Bengals. Kevin O'Connell got on the mic today, said we could not have any more confidence in Jordan Mason being a workhorse back for us. What say you?
I'm just taking his word for it, and at this point, Jordan Mason over the last couple of years has been very good every single time he gets the ball. So I'm waiting to kind of figure out what the offensive line is going to look like, both at, I think, center and at left tackle. We'll see if those guys play. But the backups to Jordan Mason right now, Xavier Scott, who I liked in the preseason, but let's talk about this, an undrafted guy that I liked in the preseason doesn't really move the needle here. And Ty Chandler, they've gone out of their way to replace multiple times.
By Jordan Mason.
Yeah, by Jordan Mason himself, who right now is number 4 in yards after contact, despite being hit behind the line of scrimmage at a much higher rate than you'd think. So hopefully that gets a little bit better. I think this is a quarterback upgrade for the team right now, based off of what J.J. McCarthy has looked like for the first 2 weeks here. And I think Jordan Mason and Kevin O'Connell have a good thing going here. So it's also against the Cincinnati Bengals defense, which is not very good.
So 2 concerns. One, we don't know about Christian Darrisaw if he's going to be back for the team yet. And then Ryan Kelly, the center, also is up in the air and questionable for this game. We'll see what happens. To your point on the quarterback potential upgrade, the Vikings right now are averaging just 1.43 points per drive. That's only ahead of the Raiders and the Titans across the league.
Yeah.
So someone asked me today, is it worth trading for Justin Jefferson as a buy low moment because people might think it's a quarterback downgrade? If you ask yourself, in one of the next 3 games that Carson Wentz probably starts, does Justin Jefferson or the running back group score more points than they previously did in the first 2 matchups? My instant answer would be, yeah, at least one time they do, but I don't know if I want to put my name attached to Carson Wentz at this point.
It's compared to what J.J. McCarthy has put out. I don't know what to say. The bar is very low for this to be a quarterback upgrade.
Yeah. And then against the Jaguars in week 2, this Bengals defense allowed 5.3 yards per carry, 126 yards on 24 backfield runs. I can't wait. In a lot of dynasty leagues, I've had Jordan Mason on the roster since the San Francisco days, and he's just been as a flex possibility, and now he's an instant running back 2 at the very least.
Your point on the offensive line injuries is well understood. Make sure you guys have a refresh on my rankings or on the Sunday morning show, because if both of those guys are out, I'll probably have to move them down a couple spots.
Travis Etienne sits here as running back 13 against the Houston Texans. You and I both believe that the running game has been the best part of the Jaguars offense so far through 2 games.
Definitely so. It can't be the pass game. But I just have a lot of confidence in Liam Cohen with Travis Etienne, who's looked really good. He's also really high in yards after contact. He has a position high 4 targets on screens, which is not surprising if you guys watched Bucky Irving and Rachaad White last year. So yeah, Basal Tune's getting out there, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But this is very clearly Travis Etienne's backfield for right now. So it's not my favorite matchup. You get, the Texans, which have 2 insane players at edge rusher, but also their linebackers and stuff fly around like madmen too. So it's a generally tough matchup. I know that the spreadsheets would kind of disagree. The Texans have been run on a little bit. I just don't really buy that, but he's the RB7 on RB12 usage, so he can't be too far down from this.
I will say it's quite different running against the Carolina Panthers defense and the Cincinnati Bengals defense, and then now seeing the bump up to the Houston Texans. So I think we'll get a bit more answers from this game. And then on top of that, Etienne did go from, 65% of the backfield touches down to 57%, but it is also that might matter less. Let's put it that way. That might matter less when you're averaging 6 point whatever yards per carry versus, 4 point yards per carry that some other split backfields might have. So Liam Cohen pretty obviously knows how to scheme up a running game. That's for sure. Number 14, Alvin Kamara at the Seattle Seahawks. Just as we started recording this, it sounds like Fuaga, one of the offensive linemen for the Saints, is dealing with both a back and knee injury. We'll see if he plays. But once again, the old man, Alvin Kamara, is getting a lot of work and getting fantasy points for people out there too.
Yeah, in week 2, it looked a lot better. He was second in expected points at 19 half PPR points. So that was nice to see. He got a couple manufactured touches on top to most of the goal line and just regular touches. The Saints are once again projected for a pathetic amount of points at 17. They're playing in Seattle, which is, I think, probably the best defense in the NFL. Their front seven totally gets after it. But at the same time, the Seahawks have allowed the most receptions through 2 weeks. Now that's also playing Christian McCaffrey and stuff, but that's a trend that we can maybe if you're feeling a lot of pressure here, stump the ball off to Alvin Kamara. So I think this is a potential panic spot for the quarterback. And if you do have those senses, give the ball to Alvin Kamara a ton to make up for it. I think that's kind of my angle here.
That leads me to one of my favorite pick'em stats of the week. All right.
Okay.
Again, from Rich Rebar's worksheet. Kamara has run a route on 76 and 80% of dropbacks through 2 games. And then after CMC caught 9 passes for 73 yards in week 1, then we know the Steelers backs caught 7 passes for 102 yards last week against this Seattle team. Right now in the pick'em lobby, Alvin Kamara is only at 22.5 receiving yards, 22.5. So what I put together, and I'll put it in, let's say, the description down below, I have a higher on Bijan Robinson touchdown, higher Saquon Barkley touchdown, and then just higher on 22.5 receiving yards here for Alvin Kamara. That feels good to me.
Yeah, it does feel good to me too.
This Saints team is fun watch. We'll keep bringing that up every single week until more and more people watch them. Rattler's a bit of a scrambler, more so than Derek Carr was in the past. But I still think that Kellen Moore is going to know maybe the trend through 2 weeks and design some things to Alvin Kamara on top of that. With 81% of touches last week, by the way. Okay, Ashton Jeanty. People are nervous. People are getting crazed about these rookie running backs. Here is, I believe, the first one on the list, and he's your running back 15 at the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, negative yards before contact for him, and then he was losing some pass game work. I don't think the pass game work stuff could hold for the entire year, but for this next week, there's some uncertainty. So through 2 weeks, he's RB29 and RB20 usage. I have him ranked well ahead of that. And this is another really tough matchup. The Commanders' defensive line has had a lot of investments recently. They've only allowed 3.0 yards per carry to running backs this far. And then also the Raiders on a short week are traveling across the country for the early slate game on the kickoff too, which historically has mattered at the margins too. So I think he's capable of truck sticking guys and breaking off big plays. I think he's capable in the receiving game as well. Is that going to matter in this week? I'm kind of middle grounding that versus where it was previously and what I know he's capable of.
Yeah, he went from 85 snaps in week 1 down to 55 snaps % in week 2. Dylan Lowry getting the 2-minute drill just made me want to throw my television out the window.
Yeah.
Somebody
said that when you're potting with Davis Maddock, you cannot be playing above Ashton Jeanty, which I thought was good.
That is tremendous. Shout out Davis. Yeah. Ashton Jeanty has been hit at or behind the line of scrimmage on 20 of his 30 rushing attempts this season. That's bananas. That's crazy. And then he's turning that into positive yardage as often as he can by, again, shrugging off tacklers. Then there's 1 or 2 they have to shrug off at the second level. Yeah. So, we do see offensive lines gel as the season goes along. You would have liked, when you spent the 9th overall pick in Ashton Jeanty, for that to happen in week 1. It can get better. I think Ashton Jeanty as an individual, outside of, the couple bad pass pro reps that are floating out there, has actually been good this year. And the tackle breaking has translated. He's just not being given a platform to improve. Hopefully that changes. DeAndre Swift is here as your running back 16. I think he was limited in practice today with a quad injury, so we will definitely track that. And this is against the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, so pending that injury is just a spot where I don't love it. I initially, like when I was starting to put my rankings together, had him as like RB like 12, 13. I was like, okay, like let's bring this down a little bit.
He's running back 26 in consensus rankings, by the way.
The Bears are third in projected points at home against the Cowboys, who have really bad linebacker play right now. And DeAndre Swift, for as much as we hate it, is out there a ton, you know? So he's the RB20 and RB18 usage. And now the Bears, instead of being bottom 10 in points like they have been, they're third. I mean, like somebody either he's getting benched or the workload is going away or the consensus rankings people just have this one wrong. So I've like lowered this ranking because it's DeAndre Swift and I just don't love what I'm getting out of him. And I think at any point this could be a rug pull. But like the reality is like DeAndre Swift has had top 10 fantasy games like plenty, even when with all these struggles, and like they're third in projected points and he doesn't really come off the field. And like Kyle Monungai was like dropping passes really bad in pass protection in preseason too. Roschon Johnson, like nobody even knows if he's a Chicago Bear anymore. Like I don't know, like I don't feel great about this, but like is there a boom week potential here? I do think that's possible.
We'll continue to repeat the line that DeAndre Swift is probably holding back the Chicago Bears at large of being successful, but as a fantasy asset, you can't not play a dude that's out there 75 to 80% of snaps, because if they do get beat, he's out there for garbage time touchdowns. On top of it, he's still getting inside the 10, inside the 20-yard line work. It is really that simple. And he can break a play. So
yes,
again, we have to almost separate our individual thoughts of him versus what he's getting on a weekly basis and that they have no one else at this point. And then with the individual thoughts, you can dock him down a few points too.
Yes. I think that's where I kind of settled here as RB16. Correct. Yeah.
Tony Pollard is your running back 17. Talk about usage. I mean, he has owned 90% and then 100% of the backfield touches through 2 games. The issue is the Titans are not really scoring points. They're not having that many drives. They've opened with a brutal schedule to open this season and now get the Indianapolis Colts.
Right. So the Titans have scored 1 touchdown this year, and it was like, I mean, what a insane touchdown that was from Cam Ward. And then they're dead last also in total yards. So it's been pathetic from the Titans, understandably so, given the matchups. This is a better matchup. And Pollard, even with the dreaded numbers I talked about, is still the RB27, RB25 usage. So in a better spot where the team is projected at least 20 points, which isn't a lot, but they've been projected like at 17 early in the season. Like, I think this is a weekend to go in there and actually finally cash in an RB2 finish for Tony Pollard.
Love that. We talk about trends through 2 weeks. The Titans have been trailing quite a bit, and Cam Ward has only targeted running backs twice in 2 games. That is extremely notable, I think, for when Tajay Spears comes back, because Tajay Spears, that's a major part of his game. So, you know, I've seen some thoughts of, well, we've already lost 2 games of Tony Pollard's 4 that he's going to own the entire backfield. 1, we don't know what Tajay Spears looks like coming off a high ankle sprain. And then 2, maybe the area that he's at his best, they haven't really been featuring here so far. So I'm not giving up on Tony Pollard's like entire season at this point, whereas some people might be.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good bounce back spot for him.
Ken Walker III, K9, is here as your running back 18 against the New Orleans Saints. You want to preach the gospel here? Go ahead.
The Seahawks are 7th in projected points. Like the last couple weeks, it's been a lot lower than that. They're 7.5 point favorites against the Saints. We don't know if Chase Young is going to play, who's probably their best defensive lineman at this point. So look, like if this rotation drive by drive continues where Charbonnet is getting more of the work because he plays the 2-minute drill on top of the drive by drive rotation, then he's going to kind of sit as like the RB24-ish. But if they say, well, Kenneth Walker seems pretty good, maybe we should stop doing this drive-by-drive nonsense and give him the ball a little bit more, then all of a sudden he can be a top 15 running back. So I've split between the 2 here. It's a very good matchup for him. And like we saw last week, even if he is the RB35 or RB30 in usage, he can still pop off because he's very good at football. So I just think eventually we'll kind of phase out of the full drive-by-drive rotation stuff and we'll just start leaning more towards Kenneth Walker. I can't fully rank him like that yet, so I'm kind of middling it.
Yeah, just imagine when he does. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're not going to really talk about Zach Charbonnet because he's down at running back 35. Spoiler alert for everyone. So I'll just throw this stat at you because it's a Seattle Seahawks backfield stat. Through 2 games, Zach Charbonnet has 57 yards on 27 touches, and 37% of his runs have failed to gain yardage. That's the highest rate in the league. So, I mean, it's interesting. I've been a big fan of Ken Walker for years, if, the viewers can't tell. And the constant thing for him is that, low success rate, low efficiency, getting stuck at the line of scrimmage. That is Zach Charbonnet at this point. And part of that is the blocking that they ran into in week 1. And he wasn't given as good blocking in week 2 on top of that. But at the same time, K9 just fits half of these runs way better. He's a perfect ideal fit for the wide zone stuff. And then when he does get a cavern of space, boom, he's off to the races like we saw with a 19-yard touchdown. So to me, it's possible that it's only up from here after he was buried in week 1.
Yeah, I agree. Where is he in consensus ratings? Do you have that?
Ken Walker's at running back 18 in consensus ranking. So exactly where you're at.
They know ball, I guess.
Breece Hall is your running back 19 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa has allowed only 2.8 yards per carry to running back so far this season when facing 37 rushes.
Yeah, at least Kalijah Cansey, the defensive tackle, is now out with a pectoral, but that doesn't explain Vita Vea. And they're just a really physical team in general. Tyrod Taylor is going to be quarterbacking over Justin Fields. I think there's some pros and cons to that. I think that Breece Hall might catch more passes because Tyrod Taylor is just a veteran, get the ball out. But I do think that Justin Fields does open up some lanes for Breece Hall. We saw that at times, the zone read stuff against TJ Watt in week 1. You kind of feel how that would help him out. So I'm kind of middling this. He's the RB23 and RB24 usage. We had a great game from Breece Hall. We had a disaster game with the Jets. Couldn't even move the ball in the first half. They're projected for the 3rd fewest points. So this is kind of where we were ranking him before we got the answers to week 1 and week 2, where it's the right. Jets kind of stink. We know Breece Hall's pretty good. And we'll kind of figure this thing out.
Next up is Chuba Hubbard as running back 20 against the Atlanta Falcons. I'm sure you don't feel great about this one. I mean, the Panthers just lost their starting center and right guard. To me, the right guard's an even bigger problem because you go from Rob Hunt to Chandler Zavala, who is really light in the pants. Let's put it that way. And right now, Chuba Hubbard has only 1 run of 10 plus yards. And maybe one of the more surprising units through 2 games, and it's only 2 games, has been, this Falcons defense in totality.
Yeah, Rob Hunt not light in the pants at all. No. So it's a big downgrade there.
He has 120 million to fill out those pants.
Yeah, he's got all the pants that you could possibly buy. Yeah, this is a painful one. Chuba Hubbard so far, even though we've had, let's say it, pretty bad offensive performances, a negative game script which goes against Chuba Hubbard, he still has managed RB10 on RB13 usage. That shows how much the Panthers really love Chuba Hubbard. He's getting targeted in negative game script too, so that at least gives you some level of a floor here. I see the Falcons in the spreadsheets, and they look a lot better. And I think that they are going to be better. And they've added, 2 edge rushers to help out. Those edge rushers are also light in the shorts. So I do think that it's kind of like a mirage here, where I do think that if they can get downhill, and we'll see if they can do that with some backup running backs, I do think that the Falcons over the long term are going to be kind of feisty as pass rushing because they got a lot of juice, but they're actually pretty small up front. You can actually run on them. So yeah, this is a tough ranking because I really like Chuba. If he had Hunt and Corbett out here, I think I would have him as the top 15 guy.
James Conner is your running back 21. This is at the San Francisco 49ers. Hasn't been great running between the tackles so far this year for the Cardinals. Some of their best runs have been to the edge on Trey Benson stuff. But at the same time, James Conner is out there a good amount. And when they're in the low red zone, James Conner is getting touchdowns too.
Yeah, I'll keep this one short. He's the RB17 on RB19 usage, and this is a tough matchup against the 49ers, so I'm just going to downgrade him from there. So everyone knows about Fred Warner and Bosa. Their first-round edge rusher, Michael Williams from Georgia, is just physically impressive. And there was a rep where he just one arm and just throwing guys around. So he's a potential problem. So the Cardinals, who were top 12 in projected points this year, are down to 21.5 points this week, which is lower than normal on the road. So every James Conner stat, just bump them down a tier.
Yeah. And big man Alfred Collins, I believe their 2nd round pick, had a nice week too on top of that as well. J.K. Dobbins is your running back 22 of the Denver Broncos. And this is against the LA Chargers. Other than the Packers so far, arguably the 2nd best defense in the league.
Yeah, this one's challenging to me as well because the Chargers are light in the box, and like that's one thing to do that when you have Khalil Mack out there, but now Khalil Mack's on injured reserve, so we'll kind of see if they can kind of figure it out. Now I will say they have Derwin James and Henley kind of working over the middle, who just are flying around the field. So I think this is like a neutral kind of matchup in general. I think that the Chargers will like allow you to have like long kind of drives, which I think kind of plays into J.K. Dobbins. Who's been the RB11 on RB16 usage. And like I said, on Stats versus Film, 3 separate drives where he had a goal line opportunity. It just shows you like at the goal line, it's going to be him until proven otherwise. So not the perfect environment, but it's a solid one.
This is a big one for the Broncos, and maybe not so much for their running game, but their passing game on top of this too. Like where Bo Nix is ranking, and look, to me, EPA can be a team stat and all this type of stuff. But he's like dead last among these right next to JJ McCarthy. And that is surprising to me. I mean, I thought he and Sean Payton would take the next step together. So we will see, because it's tough when it's not a crossroads moment, but when you are being questioned as an offense already, and then you're going up against this Chargers defense on the road on top of that.
Yeah. Got to be patient against them. It's hard.
Jaylen Warren is your running back 23. We saw him literally explode. Well, not literally, but down the field for, what was it, like a sick 42 or 47 yard reception, as you called it, arguably the play of the season for the running back position.
Yeah, it was a wild play. The hard part about this ranking is he's played better than this. His usage is better than this. He's like getting goal line opportunities plus the pass game stuff. The hard part is the Patriots' investment on defense this year seemed to like really make an impact stopping running backs. So far, 2.5 yards per carry allowed against running backs. Milton Williams has been really dominant, but they've had like linebackers and just they've gotten more pieces back and ready to go. Christian Gonzalez, we'll see if he's going to be out there this time or not. But yeah, the Steelers offense is like, it's fine. I'm not like super excited about it. And you can't like replicate like 6 broken tackles, like on a scramble drill too. That wasn't like a design screen or something. That was just like some chaos bullshit, and he made the most out of it, but like that's harder to replicate.
Chase Brown is your running back 24 to close this tier. This is at the Minnesota Vikings, a Vikings defense that we previously had said is very difficult to run on, but in week 2 against the aforementioned Atlanta Falcons, who can seemingly run on everyone because they have Bijan Robinson, they did allow 219 yards rushing on 38 attempts. So we'll see which one is here. I would bank on it being a really good week for the Vikings defense against this Bengals defensive line and a backup quarterback on top of that.
That's kind of where I landed with this. Is like, it's just a lot to ask in your first game of the season as a backup quarterback to go against the Vikings defense. So, and then on top of that, Chase Brown's been like really bad, even with Burrow out there. It's not all his fault. Like the offensive line is really, really bad, but that's not going to change here. So just kind of refresh, the Bengals right now are projected for the 6th fewest points on the week. So they're typically top 6. Now they're bottom 6 right now. It's just a really tough matchup for them.
Kyren Williams is running back 25. In fact, he's even running back 20 in consensus rankings. I don't know if I've ever seen him that low heading to the week. Hayden, is this a little bit harsh going against the Philadelphia Eagles defense on the road?
Well, I think the matchup's harsh. So it's like not just that he's gone from 90% snaps down to 70, 65%. And McVay said he wants to continue that. So I'm pricing that in. But it's like on top of that, Steve Avila's been on the injury report. We'll see if he plays. I think the offensive line has been kind of mediocre for the Rams because of injuries up front. And now you get like Jalen Carter. The Rams, who are typically top 5, top 10 in projected points, they're sitting at 20.5 points, which is like right next to the Tennessee Titans. So like, if Tony Pollard, who gets all the snaps, is projected for 20 points, and then Kyren Williams gets 70%, and they're also projected for 20 points, I'm struggling to justify how I can rank Kyren Williams like too much higher than this.
You and I in Stats versus Film did discuss the 66-33% that Sean McVay is aiming for. That, if Kyren Williams gets the late rushing score that Blake Corum got last week, then he goes from running back 30 to about running back 15. I do want to add maybe an alternate opinion onto this for maybe some Kyren Williams people out there, in that I do wonder if the games are tighter, if Sean McVay will really go to the 66-33 split, because I think that was the first Rams win of over 10 points or 10 plus points since like week 13 of 2023. And so it's easier in those environments to go to someone like Blake Corum.
Right.
And I do wonder if it's like a really tight game or if they're working from behind, like they likely will be in this one, if he's just going to be willing to not have his favorite player in the NFL, Kyren Williams, on the field.
I think it's all fair. A lot of the Blake Corum usage was late in the game. So, and the in-game winning percentage was on the field was like 90%. So there is some garbage time elements. So that's a good point. I might move him up a couple spots, but even still, like I need the interior offensive line to be able to block Jalen Carter, and whether that's for Blake Corum or Kyren Williams, that's still in the back of my mind.
Yeah, and just observations, and we'll have more information after this week. That's what's great about football. Cam Skattebo, your guy, one of the most fun players in college football, now is entering his third week in the NFL, and this is against the Kansas City Chiefs. Not surprising. This is another onion hanger for you. He's your running back 26. He's running back 35 in consensus rankings.
Well, last week he was the RB 15 in expected half PPR points. He handled the goal line touch and converted it. That's not surprising. He's the biggest boy in the backfield, and we love that. He's getting Russell Wilson fired up on the sideline.
Biggest boy in the back.
And
I'm the biggest
boy. Andrew Thomas might be back this week, which is huge. That's huge news here. So, like, I see where this thing's going. Like, Cam Skattebo can catch the ball. He's awesome. And whenever he's healthy, which we don't know how long that's going to be the way he plays, I want to rank him fairly aggressively. So I just think that he's the future of this backfield. And we saw that in week 2. Like after the first quarter, it was like mostly all Cam Skattebo.
The biggest boy in the backfield sounds like a children's book you might read to your little baby boy before bed tonight.
Yeah. Well, my phone my phone's connected to my laptop, and I was getting a phone call as I was saying that. So I was trying to like silence the phone as I was saying that. So my brain like went down to like 84 IQ.
David Montgomery is your running back 27. This is against the Baltimore Ravens. Again, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but week 1 projected for 22 points. Week 2, the Lions were projected for 26.5 points. Dave Montgomery easier scored touchdown and score a whole bunch of 50-ish points for this Lions team. And then now they face off against the Ravens on the road.
Yeah, I'll say that he's holding the line. Like there hasn't been like that much of a change in like the rotation. And this has been a really balanced approach in neutral situations in both games. And like you said, when they're expected to score a lot of points, his usage goes up and he scores more goal line touchdowns. And then when that's not the case, he doesn't. So he's been the RB26 and RB21 usage in 2 totally different styled games, but he's at least out there in both opportunities. So not a good matchup for him, but he's definitely like, I think, a flexible guy.
And oftentimes we see in the NFL, the best defense, like the Packers were in week 1 against the Lions, can sometimes be in like a tier by themselves. And even a really good defense like the Ravens, you can still score points against them, like we saw against the Bills and these other teams. So while they might be listed as top 3 or top 5 or whatever, the gap between like 1 and 2 and then 2 to 5 might be significant. So we'll see. We'll see with the Lions. Okay. Another rookie panic. Omarion Hampton is here as your running back 28. Speaking of good defenses, this is against the Denver Broncos. I mentioned it with Ashton Jeanty, but 34.8% of Omarion Hampton's runs have failed to gain yardage. That is ahead of only Ashton Jeanty and Zach Charbonnet this season.
Yeah, in my model, he's the second least efficient running back, only behind Chase Brown. So the big concerns here is after he got stuffed 3 times at the goal line, and then later on in the fourth quarter, they had a 4th and 1 attempt, and he wasn't even out there. And then afterwards, he fumbled the ball like really late in the fourth quarter. If you just look at the chart of like the RB time across the game, Najee Harris is the only guy touching the ball late in the game. So like that makes me nervous. And Najee Harris didn't do anything wrong, where Hampton has done some things wrong. So I'm kind of taking a pretty like conservative approach with this Omarion Hampton ranking. But I do think this is going to be a lot closer in usage than it was in the first 2 weeks. And I wouldn't blame Harbaugh for making that decision. And then on top of that, you get, this matchup.
Yeah. And we saw a snap increase from Najee from week 1 to week 2. And it could naturally just happen again from week 2 to week 3 as he's getting more practice time underneath his belt. Hampton did have 3 carries from inside the 5-yard line, but he didn't cash in for a touchdown on top of that. Okay. It's always interesting when you go from one rookie who was drafted in the first round to one rookie that was drafted in the 7th round, because Bill Croskey-Merritt in his first time as a starter for the Commanders, is here as your running back 29 against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Right. I think it's a good matchup for Bill here. Without Austin Eckler, I'm expecting Jeremy McNichols to handle 75% of what Eckler would be providing. And then Bill's probably going to take on more of the base work and then hopefully be the goal line back. Chris Rodriguez might mix in there a little bit. So that's kind of just like the thing sticking in the back of my mind. Commanders so far, it's been kind of struggle city for them, are only 27th in running back usage. They run a committee, they have Debo. So there's a little bit of a cap to this. And then with Jaden Daniels, he was to me, visibly not himself after he got rolled up on. And he was barely moving afterwards. So we'll see if he plays out there. I think that would impact the scoring opportunities for everybody too.
It's always cool to me from a fantasy standpoint that, when we get a running back reshuffling, it's kind of a reset point for the rest of the season. So we have our preseason takes and then whatever games have been played. So 2 for this team. And then from here on out, we have to totally kind of forget what has happened before then. And then now what we're going to see in week 3 is what we're going to go by for the Commanders running back room the rest of the way. Rhamondre Stevenson is your running back 30. This is against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It has not been historically this case, but the Steelers defense has been flat out bad through 2 weeks.
Yes. Yeah, they might get Derrick Harmon, who I love, defensive tackle back, first rounder, but don't know about that quite yet. And I'm not sure if you can expect a rookie just to go solve the defense of problems. The Patriots are 29th in neutral pass rate. And when they do pass the ball, as you guys have noticed, it's a lot of passes to the running back position. So the starter, which is Rhamondre right now, the goal line back, which is Rhamondre right now, and then also maybe the guy they trust the most in passing situations, at least in pass protection right now, it's all Rhamondre Stevenson. So I'm ranking him the highest. I'm curious about this offensive line too. They've played pretty well, but against matchups I think have been pretty easy. There's at least a little bit more talent on Pittsburgh. So this is kind of just a wait and see approach, but I definitely have Rhamondre ranked above Travion Henderson until I can see a little bit more reason to flip it.
Yeah, Hendo played 11 snaps in the first half, then played only 5 snaps the rest of the way. The Steelers defense has allowed 250 rushing yards to running back so far this year with 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb. Yeah, he's still here, slightly thriving. This is your running back 31 at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Has rushing yards of 60 and 72 through 2 games. And we know he also got in the end zone last week as well.
Yep, he is chugging right along. So he's the RB24 and RB31 usage. It hasn't to me looked all that pretty, but and I just don't trust the offensive line against Jacksonville's defensive line, which they have 2 studs. So we'll see, but you're getting some nice ROI on him. You drafted him in your last round, maybe picked him up after an early August draft, and you're
yep,
he looks like a flex play right now. He's completely touchdown or bust. He's going to lose all the passing team work to Woody Marks, who I think looks better overall. So I would ride this thing out as you can. And I would also consider selling high on this too. But he's been good.
Yeah. Nerds got very upset with Bobby Slowick, and we're still getting first and second down runs here from Nick Haley on top of it too. So maybe just something is in the water there in Houston. Next, to close out running back 32 is Quinshon Judkins in his second game. We got a little bit of data and tape underneath our belt. Unfortunately, this is against the Green Bay Packers. So yeah, we've talked a lot about the Packers and how good they are defensively. Here you go, Cleveland Browns. Make them look even better in the spreadsheets.
I was surprised to see that the Browns were projected for 16.5 points. I've seen some team totals at 14 3/4, 15.5. And I thought that's where we were going to be here. So, yeah, I mean, what are you supposed to do here? I think he's good. It was very evident that he was good. Look at that 31-yard run. I mean, the guy's very good at football. He's also going to lose a bunch of snaps because he didn't add that much in the pass game, and both of the other backs are good there, and they're supposed to get their ass kicked against the best defense in the NFL. So, could he rip off a 40-yard touchdown? Absolutely. Are we banking on that? Oh, I'm not. So he's kind of a wait and see guy for me.
Yeah, I was a big Judkins guy during the draft, and I do think maybe his receiving work was slightly undervalued. I know at Ohio State, obviously you had Hendo, but at Ole Miss, he did a bunch of that stuff too. He did catch 3 passes in week 1 on top of that, just for on top of his 10 carries. So we'll see. Good luck, Browns. Okay, the rest of the way, I'll just throw up 5 because we've kind of already talked about these primaries, and then these are the secondary runners on their team. Your running back 33 is Tyler Algier. Najee Harris is running back 34. Zach Charbonnet, 35. Bashal Tutin, 36. And then Trevion Henderson is running back 37. Anything you want to call attention to with any of these names?
Algier's available in a lot of leagues. We talked about on the waiver wire show. Like, to me, this is ridiculous. He's a high stealing handcuff, and he's actually RB26 in usage because they run the ball so much that like Bijan gets home, but Algier's like also in the mix, and the Panthers stink. So like, could this be a week where he ends up being a top 24 running back and both guys get home? I can see that. We've seen that before against Carolina last season, and Algier's good at football too. Just like wanted to note that. I think he's one of these guys, like he can end up being like a Jordan Mason where he goes to the next spot and then like becomes a starter and like he's just good at football.
Yep. I think that's totally fair. Okay. The rest of this list, actually, I'll just go to the next name because running back 38 is the first Kansas City Chiefs running back on this list, and he barely sneaks in. This is Isiah Pacheco at the New York Giants.
I mean, until he gets goal line usage or pass game usage, like
or two down usage.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, any usage at all would be nice at this point. I thought it was a good theory. This has nothing to do with like fantasy football yet, but that the Chiefs are trying to do too much on the ground game with like too many different types of zone schemes and shotgun stuff, and that they got bullies like with Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, and that they should just like get under center and like just become a duo man rushing scheme, which I would like to see. I don't know. It seems like it's pretty broken right now. So. Yep. I think Pacheco could be a starter in fantasy in a broken offense if he got the ball, but he's not getting the ball.
Okay, closing this out, this is Tyrone Tracy and then Dylan Sampson here as running back 40. That's going to do it for us. Again, tomorrow, Thursday, trade show with Faraz. Friday, wide receiver rankings, and then Saturday, quarterbacks and tight ends. And we bring it all back on Sunday morning with a start-sit show that is live on this channel at 11 a.m. Eastern. Be there or be square. Again, posting my pick'em entry in the description down below. I'm sure we'll post Hayden's at the exact same time. Go play an underdog. Use promo code the show. Play $5 for your first time, and we'll give you $50 on top of that. Shout out to Weaves, Mosho, Hayden, up the villa. We'll talk to y'all soon. See ya.